I wanted everything to be perfect when I finally asked Mia. This wasn't just a fleeting moment in our lives. This was everything. We've been together for 6 years, and it's been the happiest 6 years in my entire life. Will you marry me?
Oh my God. Yes, of course.
I was leaving for Europe in a week, and I was trying to find the perfect way to tell my roommate, Kim, that I'd been secretly in love with her for almost 3 years.
I'm in love with you.
It was supposed to be a one-night stand, but as with most, my heart took over, and before I knew it, I'd fallen for her.
What would you think if I asked you out?
My parents would totally freak out.
At some point, you have to look out for your own happiness.
I knew the moment she walked out that door that the memory of what might have been would haunt me always.
So in love with you. I know. Why don't you ever say it back to me?
Whenever somebody asks me what my biggest regret in life has been, I tell them every single moment I didn't tell Evie how much I loved her.
This scene between Kenna and the woman she can no longer treat as a casual encounter unfolds like an awakening, a shift from the safety of detachment to the trembling vulnerability of love, from the fleeting comfort of touch to the lasting courage of emotional honesty. It begins, as so many modern queer connections do, with the illusion of simplicity, a one-night stand, meant to be unburdened by feeling, framed as something temporary and physical because permanence can be terrifying when the world tells you that your love is not meant to last. Kenna's opening words, "It was supposed to be a one-night stand," are not only exposition but confession, a defense mechanism breaking down in real time. She frames their intimacy as an accident of circumstance, two girls at a party giving into chemistry, but what follows subverts the cultural trope of the unattached hookup. The repetition of "then she texted me" transforms the story. That small gesture of communication becomes the emotional hinge of the entire episode, signaling how queer relationships often begin in secret spaces but evolve through the smallest acts of recognition. Each text, each returned message, becomes a defiance of ephemerality. The repetition of our one-night stand evolved into a regular booty call underscores the illusion of control, the idea that they can contain their feelings within the boundaries of convenience. Yet the rhythm of that repetition mimics denial. The more Kenna says it, the less she believes it. For queer viewers, this echoes the quiet panic of realizing that what began as an experiment or something unnamed has become emotionally real. As Kenna narrates how her heart took over, the moment captures one of the most universal experiences among queer women. The point at which desire deepens into care, and care into fear. Fear that wanting more will push the other person away, or that love itself will break something fragile. When she finally asks, "What would you think if I asked you out?" her vulnerability feels revolutionary. The question is small, but it contains years of cultural weight. Women, especially queer women, are taught to wait for invitation, to conceal initiative behind politeness, to fear rejection twice over, once for the risk of love, and again for the risk of queerness. Her courage to ask, to want publicly, becomes the heartbeat of the scene. The other woman's startled response, "A date?" mirrors the social awkwardness that arises when two people accustomed to secrecy must suddenly speak in daylight terms. It's both endearing and heartbreaking. It reflects how queer desire is often treated as something tentative, an experiment to be clarified or excused. Kenna's simple answer, "Yeah, I like you," reclaims that uncertainty as clarity. What follows, the hesitation, the "I like you too," but encapsulates the painful reality that for many women, wanting another woman isn't just about emotion. It's about safety, family, identity, and all the unseen costs of being honest. When her lover admits she's never been in a relationship with a woman and fears her parents' reaction, the air thickens with unspoken history. Every queer person watching knows that moment. When love collides with legacy, when affection becomes entangled with the heavy inheritance of shame and expectation. Her line, "They don't even know I'm gay. It's complicated," is more than a character detail, it's a generational refrain. Complicated becomes a word that hides everything society has made too dangerous to name. Fear of rejection, loss of belonging, the threat of being misunderstood or erased. Kenna's response, calm, empathetic, unflinching, is what turns this scene from confession to communion. "Before I came out, I forced myself to like guys for the sake of my parents," she says, her tone not judgmental but weary with truth. In that moment, she becomes both lover and mirror, gently offering the other woman a glimpse of a freer self. Her words, "At some point, you have to look out for your own happiness," articulate what every queer person must eventually learn. That self-erasure may buy temporary peace, but at the cost of one's own aliveness. This isn't a seduction, it's a salvation. The emotional gravity of the scene lies not in their chemistry, but in their recognition. Two women standing at the intersection of love and fear, each a reflection of what the other might yet become. When the woman finally says yes to the date, the moment feels less like romantic resolution and more like reclamation, a permission to exist, to love without apology. That single yes carries centuries of silenced affirmations, the quiet rebellion of women choosing each other despite a world that told them not to. The exchange that follows, her gratitude, her saying thank you for saying exactly what I needed to hear, becomes a kind of emotional exhale. It acknowledges how love, for queer women, is rarely just about personal chemistry. It's also about safety, about finding someone who understands the invisible negotiations you've been making your entire life. When Kenna promises, and when you decide to tell your parents, I'll be here every step of the way, she extends the promise beyond romance into solidarity. She is saying, I see your fear, but I won't let you face it alone. That line reframes queer love as community, a partnership grounded in care, patience, and shared survival. For LGBTQ ELS audiences, the authenticity of that moment lies in its ordinariness. It's not grand or cinematic, but intimate in a way that feels real. It captures what many queer women yearn for, not spectacle, not rebellion for its own sake, but companionship that honors both vulnerability and growth. The scene also exposes society's discomfort with seeing women love each other openly. While heterosexual romance is portrayed as universal and endlessly redeemable, lesbian love is still often framed as exception or fate. By showing two women navigating not just passion but emotional depth, the scene dismantles that bias. It refuses the idea that queer relationships are transient or experimental. It insists on their complexity and legitimacy. The woman's hesitation, her fear of her parents' reaction, becomes a microcosm of that societal tension, illustrating how external judgment continues to shape internal emotional landscapes. This discomfort persists because visibility challenges control. When women choose each other, they choose a form of love not built for male validation. And that autonomy disrupts patriarchal expectations. Yet, in this scene, that disruption feels gentle, even healing. It offers an image of queerness not as defiance, but as tenderness, not as rejection of the world, but as a more honest way of living within it. For women watching, queer or otherwise, Kenna's patience and emotional literacy serve as a model of how love can be both brave and kind. Her refusal to pressure the other woman, her willingness to meet fear with empathy, demonstrates how intimacy rooted in understanding can transform shame into self-acceptance. Symbolically, Kenna embodies what it means to be self-assured in her queerness, not defensive, not hardened, but quietly confident in her right to love. The other woman, by contrast, represents the threshold, the moment before stepping into visibility, that fragile stage when fear and hope coexist. Their interaction mirrors the real-world pressures many queer women face, the constant negotiation between authenticity and acceptance, between being true to oneself and preserving familial or cultural bonds. The beauty of this scene lies in its refusal to resolve that tension neatly. It acknowledges that coming out and loving openly are not single acts but ongoing processes, and that even within love, there will be uncertainty. Still, by the final moments, what remains is a sense of hope, not naive, but earned. When Kenna says, "Thank you for being there for me," and the words are returned, it becomes a closing affirmation of equality, of mutual care. The emotional core of the scene is not that two women fall in love, but that they choose to be honest, with themselves and with each other, despite the risks. For queer viewers, it's a reminder that the most radical act of love is not simply desire but truth-telling. For all women, it's a reflection of the universal struggle to claim joy in a world that teaches self-denial. This is not a story about rebellion, it's about recognition. The moment when love stops asking for permission and starts existing as it always should have, unashamed, visible, and real.